It's Rob from Butt Ends. I'm here with Jake. We're back from the future for another episode of the Makin Playz podcast. Here we go.
What's going on, guys? Let's get it rolling.
All right, man. What's up, Jake? How you doing, buddy?
I'm pumped, dude. We got a whole new platform, whole new idea going on. I'm ready to get it started.
Yeah, me too, man. How's it been? How you been doing, man? How's everything been going for you?
I've been good, dude. I've just been doing a lot of work and, just hanging out pretty much. What have you been up to?
Oh, dude, it's been crazy. Well, I saw you last week back in Buffalo. I was back in Buffalo for doing a little tour. Last week I got to go and see the OJHL showcase tournament at the Harbor Center in Buffalo. Yeah. So I was in Buffalo for some hockey, hung out with you for a bit. Then I got to went up to see Keel play for in St. Catharines up for the Ice Dogs.
Nice.
Saturday I was at the Bruins game in Boston, which was crazy. And then yesterday I was watching my boy Jimmy Pellegrino, my old teammate from junior. His son Caden plays he plays in Providence. So I was up in Providence yesterday checking out some 09 action. Yeah, it was pretty cool, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, dude.
You want to get right into the questions?
Yeah, sure, man. What do you got for me today? So we're back here. What? First of all, what episode is this number? I was trying to think of it this morning.
This is number 5.
All right, so episode 5. Here we go.
Yeah, number 5. We're starting a whole new platform.
Why don't you tell me and tell everybody that's listening what platform and what are we doing? Tell me what we're doing.
So now what we're going to do is I'm just going to have some questions, be hockey related or not hockey related. And I'm just going to ask Rob, and he's going to let me know what he thinks about those. And then we will have some guests on, and then that'll be really cool. We're not really sure how the guests, it's just going to kind of roll with the guests. And, we'll have some questions set up for them. But for right now, this is what we're doing, and we think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think that's cool, man. Pepper away, dude. I got whatever you want. It's your show. Tell me what you want me to talk about, and I'll talk about it. Also, too, for guests, I have a couple guys already in mind, so we can talk about that on the show here too, like about who we can talk to. But I got some buddies right now that are playing in the pro level and have expressed some interest to me that want to come on the podcast and talk. Sweet. So we can get that set up here pretty soon and hopefully bring in some cool guests to just talk about different stuff in life and hockey and stuff. So
yeah, I can't wait. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, that'll be cool, man. All right, so what do you got for me, Jake? Talk to me.
All right, so I have a couple questions here. One of the questions that I wanted to ask was what do you think the most important thing to work off ice is? So do you think it's like just weight training or specific training, endurance, core, all that stuff? What do you think would be like the most important thing to train off ice? Because you do a lot of working out, you do a lot of training, and I just wanted to see what your opinion was.
Yeah, man, it's a good question. From a hockey specific standpoint, one of the things I would highly recommend to players is, obviously it seems cliche, but work on leg strength. A lot of guys, go into the gym and they, every time it's leg day, it kind of has like a negative connotation. But as a hockey player, you're nothing out there without your legs. So I would say all workouts, leg and core related, would be the number one place I would start. But then it's you gotta kind of go, in all directions. If you're going to be a hockey player, you got to, off the ice, you got to be working on, not just one specific thing, but, try to have a full body of work that's going to, help you as a player. So that can be obviously, working out your physically in the gym, obviously, being, attentive on the ice and working there. And, other things too, you can work on, with your mental game and, watching video and things like that. All these things, can help you. So, I don't know. I guess the most important thing though, just off the top of my head would say be hockey players every day, focus on your legs. That'll, if you can keep your legs strong and flexible and agile and healthy, you'll have a much longer career and a much better chance of making it to the higher level.
For sure. I mean, legs drive your skates. So, that's pretty self-explanatory, but that's awesome. That's good to hear.
Yeah. Well, honestly, man, self-explanatory, I know it is. Even me sitting here now, oh yeah, work on your legs. As a player, man, I see a lot of guys, even myself included, probably didn't do enough as a player for the legs. And you hear some of the legendary players like Yager, guys like that. I heard rumors about him as a player, being obsessed with his legs and doing thousands of body squats every day.
Yeah, I heard
And
that
that's just really what you got to do.
post game he would go and ride the bike for like 2 hours after a game. He would just hit the gym and ride the elliptical. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. A guy he's like what? He's like 46 now.
I don't even know, but he's up in his 40s,
Yeah,
still playing pro hockey.
Yeah, he's still playing. So that's pretty cool. And that's a guy who's driven by fitness and keeping his body in shape. That's awesome.
Yeah, dude.
So I had another really cool question. If you could have the same experience that you had now, like going like playing juniors or playing in a minor league and then going to like a pro league and then shooting off and creating some equipment for that sport in any other sport, what would it be? So if you could do what you did in a different sport, what do you think that would be?
Wow, good question. Like it's hard because I'm a hockey player and I've always been, like since I was a little kid, kind of obsessed with hockey. But if I could have the same, you're saying so like the same experience of chasing after like a pro career in a different sport.
Yeah.
In hindsight, maybe now I would probably look at like maybe tennis, or I like some of the following some of the sports that are like more individual, I guess. Like I love watching like Roger Federer or players like Novak Djokovic, like guys at the top of the tennis game, and seeing how they handle their playing adversity and their playing career as like a solo player without having a full team around. I'm kind of fascinated by that. So maybe something like that. I would say probably like a tennis journey. I really love that sport.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And you could still make butt ends for tennis.
Yeah, that's another thing I thought about too. Like when you asked me that too. Like I've got a butt ends grip on my tennis racket. I played high school tennis. I wasn't very good. I was okay. I mean, I was good enough to play in high school on the doubles. But I love that sport, and I've even got the hockey grips. Like I was able to put the flux grip on my tennis racket. So
really,
it's definitely I think an opportunity. For an upgrade, I guess for grips in that sport as well.
That's awesome. That's sweet. That's pretty cool because you go from something that's a team sport like hockey, and it's very like, it's so team related, and there's no real like when you're in tennis, it's a single player sport, and you're really saying, I am the reason I win or lose today, and that's something that you don't have in hockey, and that's pretty cool. I thought,
dude,
I think it was going to be tennis. I thought it was going to be something else.
Well, what did you think I was going to say?
I don't know, man. I thought it would be like maybe basketball or something.
I thought, no, to be honest with you, I was thinking along the lines of like a mountain biking, maybe. As I've gotten older, I've become really interested in biking more. Like I liked riding bikes as a kid, but now that I'm a little bit older, like I love mountain biking and riding bikes. And it's kind of like, that's like something that's sort of an individual thing. Like you do it on your own, but you can also do it with like groups of people too. And it's good for, conditioning and just challenging yourself. So I thought bikes as well, but there's something about like, I don't know, I guess just recently coming off of the US Open, seeing Rafa Nadal win the championship. I love tennis players, and I love the idea of like climbing that mountain. And like you just mentioned, like you don't have anybody to blame for yourself except for yourself. Exactly. In one of those individual sports, like sort of like golf as well.
Yeah, you don't really have to worry about anybody else either. It's also, there's a good and bad. If you lose, and then it's if you lose that match, it's your fault, and there's something you could have done better. But in hockey, it's like, okay, could I have done something better, or is it my D partner that screwed up that play that caused us to lose? You have more control, and that's a good and a bad thing.
Yeah, but it's funny.
Stress.
Like when you asked me that question, like I honestly, it just made me realize like there isn't anything else that I could have done. I don't think. Like I was obsessed with hockey since like the minute I started playing, and I remember. Literally, I got the bug when I was like 6, and I wanted to be a pro hockey player since the time I started skating. Like most hockey, like every kid I meet, every time I ask them, like, what do you want to do? Like, they all want to be pro hockey players. Like every kid that's a hockey player, that's what you are first and foremost. So like, I still consider myself that. Like, I still look at myself as just a hockey player who wants to achieve a great thing in the area that I find most appealing, which is hockey. So That,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, man.
That kind of translates into the next question that I had for you, which was, what is something that's non-hockey related that could make you better at hockey or could help you with hockey, whether it be like an exercise, like yoga, like you do yoga a lot. I know a lot of hockey players do yoga, or say like another sport that
Um,
can really translate into hockey.
Yeah, that's a great question. You mentioned yoga class. Like I discovered yoga later in my life, like later in my career, if you will. Like I was in my 30s when I started actually, even like mid 30s when I started like getting a regular weekly practice of yoga, and I found it's really had a huge benefit on my like mental and physical well being. One specific example of somehow I feel like it's benefited me is. I've been able to like take certain falls. Like I've had some big falls in the last couple of years. Like, I'll be out coaching and, like I had one where I stepped on my skate lace while I was turning. I wasn't wearing any pads and I was demonstrating a drill and I slipped, like my feet went out from under me and I crashed into the ice and slid into the net funny. And like honestly, like I walked away from that without any injuries. Like I had a little bruise on my elbow, but I was like super grateful that I wasn't hurt. But I think I look back on it, I'm like, I think a lot of it was, some of the stress that I'm putting my body in with yoga for the last few years has made me like more. I'm better at taking punishment. I think I'm getting older, and you think the opposite, but I actually feel almost stronger now than I did when I was playing, and I wasn't really using yoga when I was a player. Another thing that I find is really beneficial for me or for any hockey player would be biking. As I mentioned it earlier. There's something about like riding bikes for a long distance or going on hard bike rides. Like it turns your internal body. It feels like an engine, and it really like working that muscle and working your body and as like a bike rider has huge benefits for me now. When I step on the ice, like I feel like I can go longer. I feel like I can skate better. I have more agility, and I'm just stronger in my legs. So those two things, I would say, riding bikes and some kind of yoga practice.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that about taking falls, because I remember when we were playing pond hockey, when we came up for the idea to do the paddle grip.
Oh, dude,
you wiped out, and you were like, dude, if I wasn't working out, like that would have seriously hurt me. Like if I wasn't keeping myself in shape like I do, that would have really hurt.
Yeah, man. I remember that fall was huge. That ice we skated on was pretty garbage. That outdoor at ODR in Buffalo that day.
It was bad.
Yeah, I forgot about that until you just mentioned it, man. That I caught that rut with no pads, took a huge digger. But that's a perfect example of another one. I've had, like I said, man, I've had a bunch, man, where I've gone down and I'm trying not to go down. Like I want to stay healthy and I want to stay, I need to be able to be moving around. I can't be injured. Yeah. But when I'm out there, I've had a couple times where I've, had some big spills on the ice and stuff and able to walk away. So I think a lot of that has to do with like my attention to, my body and, my mind as well. I mean, we can get into all the different things. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you could do in your life to help you as a hockey player outside of practicing just the game. So definitely yoga, bike riding. Those are two really important physical activities I think would be beneficial for any hockey player.
Yeah. I have a couple buddies that do yoga and they say it helps with flexibility. Would you say it would be like it would help with like recovery? So say like someone suffered an injury, you think yoga would help with kind of the recovery process?
Yeah, yoga's great, man. And it's great to like for me to it's not like it doesn't come without some sort of everything has a cost. And like when I go to yoga class, like sometimes I walk out of there like feeling beat down to really bad. Like it's really tough. And you can get some aches and pains from yoga if you're not careful, but overall, you learn so much about your body and about your mind in a yoga class and over an extended period of time when you do it, that it definitely translates over into anything else that you're doing in life, for sure.
Awesome. And another kind of like exercise question is there an advantage to specific training versus general training? So like general training just being like going to the gym and it's arm day, or like specific training being like, chest I'm going to work on explosiveness today.
It's chest day, dog.
Every day's chest day.
Yeah. Every day is a chest day for sure. Yeah. Wait, I'm confused. What do you mean? Say it. Can you say it like it again?
There's like specific training where it's like that a lot of guys in the NHL do. Like, have you ever seen the trampoline one where they like jump real fast on the mini trampoline with one leg and it helps with like explosiveness, or they use the bands to help with explosiveness? Or do you think, like, is there an advantage to that versus just, lifting weights?
Yeah, I think you should always be trying new things and exploring new things. And nowadays, really, like, if I were playing at the high level, like, I'd be focusing on like trying to keep my body healthy and not, like I mentioned, not being injured is huge. Like, if you're trying to play pro hockey, like, getting injured could be the difference between making it and not making it. The guys that can stay healthy the longest and, like, not miss games, those are the guys that have the best chance of moving on and going to, keep playing. So, and again, like, you see some of these guys working on, like, their balance and, doing really, really specific workouts. I think that's great. I think you should have a goal in mind when you go to the workout. Like, just going to the gym and saying it's arm day, I think that's, like, probably not the best strategy. You know what I mean? Especially nowadays, like, you're going to be competing against guys who are hyper focused on certain things. Like, if you're a hockey player, one-legged balancing, squatting, like, those are the kind of workouts you should be doing. Because, like, when you're going around a turn, when you're going around a tight turn, heading to the net, and you got a defender on you, like, you need your one-legged balance strength, more than anything, really. So, definitely tailor the workouts that you're doing to your environment that you're competing in. I think it'd be really important. So, trying to identify, like, specifically what are you doing. Those are all good things.
Yeah, and I think hockey is one of those sports where there's a lot of hockey-specific trainers out there and a lot of hockey-specific exercises that not a lot of sports have. Like, there's not really a ton of football-specific trainers or basketball-specific trainers, because you're using a lot of different muscles that you wouldn't usually use when you're working out, wouldn't you say?
Well, I would say that you're definitely going to find some unique like, types of workouts and, like, types of training that's specific to hockey that you wouldn't see in other sports. But I wouldn't discount that all the other sports are also specifically working on certain things to help within their, that category.
Yeah. I feel like there's more hockey, and I don't know if it's just because your
Instagram feed is all hockey.
Yeah,
I don't see any basketball guys doing anything out here.
Yeah, and that's like, and that's another thing is, like, a lot of the pro athletes, they're already in great shape, so they're working on, like, explosiveness. Like, if you see like pro MMA fighters, like UFC, like, they don't work out. They like spar, and that's pretty much it. They just spar for like 4 hours a day, and they don't really work on anything else. And that's because they are pro athletes and they don't really need to. They have that physique ready.
I mean, honestly, man, those guys, I don't know a ton about, like, MMA and, like, fighting. I follow it superficially a little bit. Like, I kind of know a little bit about that, but I see those guys are, even at this day, like, it's 2019 right now. Nobody really has, like, the right answer for what's good. I mean, everything kind of changes, like, depending on the person, depending on the team that you're with, depending on what you're doing. Like, some guys at the MMA level, I've heard talk about, like, they do heavy, strength training, and some guys do only cardio, and some guys do all sparring. And, like, it's kind of, depending on you as the athlete. I think that translates to hockey sort of as well, depending on what, position you play, what kind of a player you are. What kind of a person you are, and who you surround yourself with is going to really dictate what kind of training you do. Sure. So it's kind of hard to say, like, here's the right thing to do, here's the wrong thing to do. It's really just, I don't know, man. Yeah, you got to find out what's good for you, what's working for you, and then, keep trying to iterate and try new things and, push yourself to the next level.
Yeah. You ever looked into, like, the MMA weight cutting, like how they cut weight before weigh-ins and stuff?
Yeah, again, like, I follow it a little bit. Like, I like the fights and stuff, but I don't know, like, all the specifics. But I've heard some podcasts with some guys talking about, like, doing weight cutting for guys, and I've heard Joe Rogan talk about, like, the dangers of it.
It's crazy unhealthy. Like, it's horrible.
Yeah.
They have, like, because I looked into it and stuff because I wanted to see what it was about. So they drink, like, 5 gallons of water on day 5 days before the weigh-in. And then they cut down to 2 gallons. They cut that in half to 2.5. And then they cut that in half to 1 gallon. Then they cut it into, like, a half. And it goes all the way down to, like, 1/4 gallon of water. And then they take salt baths to dry their bodies out and stuff. And they're, like, completely dehydrated. And then, so the fight will be in, like, a couple days after weigh-ins. And then they just eat everything and drink everything and gain, like, gain like 13 pounds back. It's crazy.
Yeah, so, dude. I mean, like if you think about it, that's I guess the best way if you're trying to beat somebody up, like you want to be like as heavy and strong as possible when you get, but and also as heavy and as strong, but as agile, and you have to have top cardio. So you want to be max physical. So what you want to do is try to cut it as much as you can right before the fight, so you can get in at a lower weight, and then juice it back up so you're 20 pounds heavier on the fight day, and you can have knockout. You want that knockout power, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Guys will weigh in at like 155, and then they show up to the fight and they're like 170 something, and it's like crazy how they gain that much weight in like 2 days. But it's not crazy when you think about how much weight they've actually lost, like dehydrating their body and stuff.
Yeah, I heard Rogan talking about how they should eliminate that just because of that reason. But I don't know, man. Like I've never actually tried to do any of that. But it's kind of cool science to see how they do it. But yeah, man, I don't know. For me as a player, as a hockey player, I was kind of always obsessed, and this is probably not the best way, like looking back on it, like I was always trying to get heavier and stronger and bigger.
Yeah.
I was a defenseman. I played a physical game. And I really, when I was a kid, I was a skinny, I was a tall, skinny kid and didn't carry a lot of weight. Like I think I graduated from high school like 175 pounds. And then when I got to Merrimack, when I was playing college hockey, I was playing at like 210.
Really?
So yeah, I really was, but honestly, I think, and especially nowadays game, I think you're better off being lighter and faster and stronger. Like you have like an optimal weight, I think. And for me, if I could go back, I would probably be playing at the weight that I am now, which is 195, as opposed to the 205, 210. I was carrying a little extra thickness, I think, when I was a younger guy.
Okay.
And I don't know. I was in pretty good shape, but I feel like now I'm a little bit more dialed in with like my diet and things than I was then.
Yeah.
And I probably could have been a little bit better as a player if I was a little lighter, because I think I would have been faster.
Yeah, and I think with hockey, like cardio goes a long way. If you're in the third period and you're gassed out, you're not gonna be up next for that shift and stuff. So guys, coaches aren't gonna want to put you out if you get gassed a lot. So
yeah, well, yeah, like for sure. I mean, you have a responsibility to be, you need to be able to play a 2-minute shift if you have to.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? If you get stuck out there.
And it's crazy. People outside of hockey look at it as like, oh, you only play for 2 minutes at a time, but like it's intense. It is the most intense 2 minutes of your life. I mean, I'm a goalie, so I wouldn't really know. It's always intense. It's always nervous. It's always scary. But yeah, like I would say that I would kind of contribute that to like playing on the power play, like being on the penalty kill, and I have to bag it for 2 minutes and make sure that they don't score. And I would say that's what I would think a 2-minute shift would be like playing forward. And I can't imagine that.
Yeah. But another thing too, man, is like, your energy when you're on the ice declines pretty quickly. So it also like restores itself very quickly too, especially if you're in good shape. So if you keep yourself in good shape, you can last longer and you can recover faster. But you step on the ice and you start, skating around full speed for 20, 30, 40 seconds, and your energy levels are going to be pretty low. And if you get stuck out there and the other team has a fresh shift, a fresh change, and they got all fresh skaters out there, now all of a sudden you're out there skating at like a really low energy level against a guy who's got full energy levels. And, it can become pretty tough pretty fast. You know what I'm saying? So definitely you got to make yourself.
The NHL just changed one of their the icing rules that if
They changed it again?
Well, if the icing still counts, but if you shoot on the goalie, that counts as an icing. So you can't make a shit. So you can't make a. So if the goalie covers it and the whistle's blown, you can't make a change.
Wait, if you ice the puck and the goalie covers it.
Yeah. So no, so you know how you're out there, you're gassed, and instead of icing it, you just shoot it at the goalie from like center ice.
Right.
Well, now if he covers it, the whistle's blown, you can't change shifts.
I'm still confused, man. So like you're saying that if you're behind the red line, and you shoot it down, it's icing, and the goalie covers it. Well, if the goalie covers it, where's the face-off?
It's in the zone. It's in their zone, but you still can't change.
Okay, so why? What if the goalie doesn't cover it? It's not icing?
I would say no. I would say he would just if he plays it, then I would say play. So continues.
But if you miss the net, it's still icing.
Yeah.
So why would the goalie want a D zone faceoff though? Like, why would the goalie have any reason to cover that puck and have what? You know what I mean? You wouldn't even want a D zone faceoff against a tired group because you know what I'm saying? Like a D zone faceoff is a scoring chance for the opponent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Look at it this way. Say they have their fourth line guys out, and their guys have been out there for 2 minutes 30 seconds. They've been out there for a while, and they dump it down. You get a fresh change. They don't. So you just put your first line back out there, and they just break out and blow right by them because they're gassed already, and they're kind of fourth line guys. So they just blow right past them.
Fourth line scrubs.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I see what you're saying. However, I have to tell you, like from a strategy point of view, I still don't see why you'd want to have a D zone faceoff in any situation if you can keep it. I mean, the only time I can see a D zone faceoff being advantageous would be like if you're in your D zone and you're getting bagged and your goalie has a chance to cover it. Great, cover it, get a change. Yeah. Then you have your D zone faceoff with fresh players. But I wouldn't want to give my team a D zone faceoff on a maybe icing. You feel me?
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. I gotta watch that rule and see if anybody does that this year and look for it.
As the goalie, I would just play it. That's what I would think. I would just play it. There's no sense, like you said, there's no sense of a D zone face-off, even if they're super tired. I would, anyways.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting, man. What about? So let me ask you, like, what would you? Let me ask you a question. If you could change a rule in the NHL or change a rule in hockey, what do you think is a stupid rule that needs to change? Speaking of rule changes,
I would say probably that's tough. Especially being a goalie, because I want to say
I've got one already. I've got one in my head already.
I want to say enforce goalie interference more, but I would say probably.
Oh, you soft goalies, eh?
Yeah. Oh, it's the worst.
More goalie interference, man. Sometimes it's like they barely are even in the play, and it's like, bro, come on. That's like
if you drive to the net with your shoulder down and try to stuff it in, that play never works ever, and there's no reason for it. But I would say probably getting a penalty for shooting the puck out. I would just say
you don't like that rule?
No, it slows the game down. I would just say it's basically like icing rule, just face-offs in the other end.
Okay. I actually, man, I hear you, man. Like I as sometimes like, as a fan, I mean, you always see it, man. It's so prevalent. Hey, like in a tense situation when it's nerve wracking and like you get the puck in your own end, you see guys like in the NHL just fire it out of the zone, like fire it over the glass.
I have a better one. Trapezoid. Get rid of the trapezoid.
Ah, dude, that was mine. That was the one I was going to mention.
I didn't even.
Yeah, I think the trapezoid is absurd.
It's such a stupid rule.
I think we want the goalies to be able to do whatever they want, and like if the goalie can come out and grab the puck and rifle it to his teammate on a rush, I don't understand why you wouldn't want that as a fan of the game. Yeah. Well, and also, too, if you got the goalies coming out of the net, you're going to be seeing goalies make more mistakes because it's harder to play the puck, and you're going to be seeing more crazy things happen. So, for me, I hate that trapezoid rule. I think it's silly.
Well, do you know why they put the rule in?
Yeah, well, they put the rule in because Brodeur, wasn't it Brodeur who was like just coming way out and making plays, but like
he would take it and behind the net and then like skate it all the way and like kind of slow the game down and draw in more players, and then he would just rifle it up the ice. So I
don't know, man.
Yeah, it was stupid. And like nowadays, the game is way too fast. If a goalie tried to do that now, he'd be stripped. He would just get stripped right out of his hands.
Well, yeah. So like I think like eliminate face-offs like more than adding face-offs is like the way to go. Like just like when they I remember when they put in the they put in the 2-line pass. Or wait. I think did they take it out, then put it back in, then take it out again? I don't know. All I know is you know what it was? They took out the 2-line pass, which I think was great for the game. Yeah, that, like opened the game wide up. No, when they put that awful offside rule in where you couldn't tag up and it was automatic whistle, and I think some levels still play that. Like at the younger level, it's like
there's a lot of leagues that play that.
I hated that rule. As a player. I was like, that's absurd. I mean, I love the tag up in hockey. I think that's part of the game. Yeah. I think that's great. Yeah, I didn't like that rule before when they put that in. So. And then I got another rule that let me ask you about this one. Like, what do you think about like the what do you think about the USA Hockey where kids can't ice it anymore on the PK? There's no more PK kill. It's like if you ice it on the PK, it's a whistle and you break it. Yeah. It's a
That's
face
the
off
whole
in your
point
end.
of then how do you kill a penalty? You know.
Well, I mean, the argument, I guess, would be like you have to be more strategic and not just rifle it down. Like you either got to carry it out or you got to flip it into the neutral zone and make sort of a skill play. I can get behind. I can get behind the rationale of like, you know, that changes your mentality as the defender. It makes you a little bit more, you know, on edge. I guess like you got to make a play. You can't just fire it down the ice. But
I see the reason they're trying to build, you know, better mental hockey players. You know, get their mental game up and kind of figure out, okay, what play can I make? But I mean, it's completely defeating the whole purpose. Like, you're gonna mess up. Like, if you hold onto that puck too long trying to think, you're gonna mess up. It's easier just to rifle it down. And also, it's great. I mean, I remember playing and being on the penalty kill, and you know, someone shoot it down, everyone the home team cheers, and everyone's excited because you know you just shot it down, like, and you're killing that penalty. Like that's exciting. But I mean, it's dumb. I mean, the goalie could just come out and play it, pass it right up to the guy, and you killed what 5 seconds. You know, but I feel like it defeats the purpose of the whole penalty kill.
Yeah, I don't know. At first I hated the rule. Now I just sort of like I can see it both ways. Like I like it. Yeah. I like the traditional where you can ice it and get the kill the time. That's part of the game. I personally was a good penalty killer. I love killing penalties as a player, as a defender. Kind of just gave you a chance to be a little bit reckless and like run around and like I love it. I would say like as soon as a guy got a puck on his backhand, I would just go and attack, and I love that feeling as a player.
Yeah, especially as a D-man, like the PK is huge for you. You're it's
really a chance to shine.
Yeah, exactly. PK players are my favorite players. I mean, as a goalie.
Yeah, right on, man. It's like you get some camaraderie. Even with I used to love that with the 10-day. You're 5-on-4 down, and you get a nice shot block, a nice penalty kill. It really does wonders for the morale.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, dude. I think that's kind of a dumb rule, though.
Yeah.
What other rules don't you like, or do you like? What rules do you like in the NHL that they kind of implement?
What rules do I like? I don't know, man. I can't really think of a specific rule that I love. I don't know. Those are a couple that I can think of now off the top of my head that I think are a little crazy. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what I think about the shooting the puck over the glass. I kind of like I kind of like that. I kind of like the pressure that you kind of got to feel. You got to do something with it. You can't just shoot it out of the zone. It definitely comes. It always comes into play. Like you see it in playoffs, like where it's a huge play, where it happens in the third period of a playoff game, and guys shooting them out. I remember specifically in my career, I got called up to Toronto Marlies, and I think it was my first game. You know, it's funny because I was playing and riding in the coast, and you have all of your gear, and you have your pants, and you have your gloves, and you have your bucket, and it's all from that team. And then I get called up to a team, right? So I got called up to Toronto. So you show up to Toronto. And you get there, and they give you new pants, new gloves, new helmet, and it's new. And so you put it on, and you're wearing new different stuff, unbroken in, and it feels weird. Like you have to you got to get used to that stuff in seconds. And so I remember I get out there, I got these new gloves on, and I'm playing. I'm in the zone. It's like running my first shifts with the Marlies in the American League, and I get the puck. And they got this low glass, and sure enough, dude, I go make a play off the glass, and just the puck hits my blade and my funny gloves, and just sails into the crowd. First game, I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, delay of game penalty. I'm like, that's the worst, dude. So right to the box. I'm sitting there. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude.
That's what
all I'm thinking is I'm gonna get sent down over my first day over shooting a delay game puck. Like, are you kidding me?
That's funny. I remember when we went up to Toronto to see the Checkers play the Marlies, and you were just naming the guys off the wall. There are just banners of guys that are in the show that you played with. I was like, that's insane. You played with some really high profile guys.
Yeah, that time in Toronto I spent there was super cool, man. It was really cool to just be so close. I mean, also too because Toronto Marlies and the Leafs are literally right next door to each other in the town. So guys were coming and going, especially that year. The year that I was there was the year the Maple Leafs were garbage. So there was a ton of guys coming up and down from the American League. They were just trying guys out, and I was always like, man, I wanted to get the call here. Hindsight, I didn't get the call, but I like my D partner got called up. Like all my D partners got called up. I was playing with Anton Strawman, Jamie Cyphers, Phil Oreskovic. All these guys got called up to the Leafs like while I'm playing with them. So like one day I'm playing with Phil Oreskovic, and then the next day I'm watching him play on TV for the Maple Leafs. And then like the following week he's back on the Marlies and he's my partner again. I'm like, this is so crazy. Like,
That's awesome.
give me a call, boys.
That's awesome. What was one of the most memorable things that happened to you playing for the Marlies? What's a really memorable story?
Memorable. I mean, I have a lot of fondness just being there, being in that environment. Being around that group of guys, and like there's a lot of talented players in that room, and it really felt. It was the closest I ever felt to the NHL, for sure. Because like I mentioned, like you're playing in Toronto, which is like the hockey mecca of the world, and you're 2 blocks away from the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you got guys in your room that are, playing on the Maple Leafs one day, playing on the Marlies the next, going back to the Maple Leafs the next day. So it felt really close to being at the NHL level, which was pretty cool. And then, just I don't know, man, just that whole experience of playing in Toronto, living in the hotel. I got to become really close with a couple guys on the team. That was really cool. But that whole experience was great. I wish I had, if I, you know what I mean? It was so short, and like when you're there, it's hard to like sometimes realize like how precious each moment is, because when you're there, you think like, I want to be in the lineup, and you're thinking about all these other things. And now looking back on it, it was just a blip of time. It would just happen so fast, like it's there one day, and then the next day it's gone. So it's a pretty cool experience, though, for sure.
For sure, that's awesome. Here's one. If you could go back and play one season of hockey, what season would that be?
So redo a year?
Yeah, if you could go back in time and relive one season of hockey, what would that be? Whether that be in the coast or in the AHL, or say like high school hockey.
Yeah, well, definitely would not be high school hockey. Not that I didn't like have a decent experience in high school hockey, but no, for sure. Like I would say
probably the AHL is way better than high school hockey.
I mean, there were some great experiences for me that in high school hockey. Well, high school hockey was a nightmare for me at the beginning, because like I was playing JV, like I was on like the 3rd level team in high school, so it was
okay.
And like as a player, I felt like I deserved to be higher, so it was kind of hard to. That was a tough time to get through, and then I ended up getting into the varsity my senior year, but high school hockey was a lot of trials and tribulations, I guess, to get through it. So it wasn't maybe like, and I've actually talked about this before with a lot of kids messaging me and asking questions about it. I struggled in high school with even staying with the game, because it was so discouraging, getting cut from every team and not being on like a high level and playing at these lower levels and being like, what am I doing? Like, what am I spending my time on here? I'm not really like excelling at this game. So getting through that was hard. If I could relive a season that I found to be like my favorite year, it would probably be either my first or second year of Merrimack. I'd probably say my second year, because I was kind of a little bit more seasoned. My rookie season was a lot of fun for sure, but the second year, my sophomore year at Merrimack, was great. We had an awesome team. We had a great group of guys, and I was really close with a lot of the upperclassmen, so we had a lot of great leaders on the team, and we really got along well. And we were competing in the best league in the country at the time, and really we were winning games, and I was a big part of the team, so it felt really good to be in that environment, especially as like a younger player. And it really started to feel that year, like that was when I started to feel like I can play at the pro level. I could definitely play at the next level, or even like I was like, I could definitely play at the NHL. Like I'm playing in this league and having a lot of success as like a sophomore in college against players who, were on World Junior and were 1st round draft picks, and, guys you could see, guys from Boston College and Maine and stuff like that. Like we're going to, they were leaving school and going right to the NHL. So like I'm watching guys play in the NHL who I just played against like a month prior, and maybe I had like, even dominated against, like, you know what I mean? Like I played against these guys and like I smoked that dude coming across the middle, you know what I mean? And now he's playing in the show. I'm like, well, wait a minute, like I can play in the show. So that year was sick. I would definitely love to, go back and experience that again. And then definitely I would say 2008, 2009 season pro, because that was the year I spent most of the year in the American League.
Yeah. And
quite honestly, I wish I could go back and again, like, remember I said, like, when you're there, you think, oh yeah, like I'm here now. I'm like, this is where I'm at. And like, but it's so, you only have like, you have one chance, dude. Like every day you have one chance, dude. Like
Yeah.
you don't have time to like wait around for things to happen. Like you got to make things happen. And I think I wish I could go back and just maybe just, realize that this is only going to be like, you're only going to get a cup of coffee here, man. You better make the most of this. And like I work my hardest, but as like an older guy now, I look back and say like, maybe I could have done this, maybe differently or that. And so that was a sick year with like, great experiences playing at all these different American League teams. And I'd love to go back and experience that maybe. Obviously it's not possible, but for your question,
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. Another question, what is the difference, like, how different is it to go from playing like college hockey where guys wear face shields and then going into like a junior league and being kind of an enforcer guy?
What do you mean like a junior, like pro, you mean?
Yeah. Going to
enforcer.
Well,
I hear you. No, I hear you, man. My stats, I see it. I know. I got like tons of fights. Okay. Yeah. I mean, dude, like playing. Well, I wore a half shield in junior for one season, and then going back to college and playing in college hockey and wearing the mask. I guess it felt normal. As a player, when you start to get older, you start to realize like you want to have better vision. So like having the mask is sort of a deterrent to your vision. And like in the summers, you'd skate without a mask and stuff. But then wearing it back in college hockey, college hockey is pretty violent. I think wearing the mask at that level creates a level of like from you don't have like fear of getting hit in the face. So like you're a little bit more willing to go flying in their face first and like try to disrupt the game. So I found college hockey to be like, it's crazy physical. And I even like I got cut more in college hockey, and like I had more like I got speared in the ear, I got like high sticked in the face, I broke my nose, like all this stuff while wearing a mask. And I didn't have as many things happen to me in 4 years of pro hockey not wearing a mask. But I guess like the transition from college hockey to going to play pro, where you're up against guys and like fighting's part of the game, was definitely a challenge for me because, I played a real physical style game, especially in college. I was offensive, but I was also pretty nasty. And when I took that nastiness to the pro level, all of a sudden, like you had guys on the other team who were willing to come over and, fight you and challenge you to fights. And, I was trying to get my name out there and I was trying to get noticed, and I just played like a really intense game. So, I was dropping the mitts with guys, but, it was scary, man. Quite honestly, like it was really scary. Like going into a fight, I was not the best fighter, and I didn't really know what I was doing, like really. So I was learning on the go and learning on the job, and I was fighting some menacing dudes. So it was pretty scary. And after I got my ass kicked a few times, like it became obvious, like I didn't really want to get I didn't want to get beat up in these fights, man. It was kind of tough, but same time, dude, like I was part of a team and guys looked to me for that, and honestly, I loved the way that, the other guys on the team, like would pat you on the pads, like, and really respect you if you went out there and fought guys like on the other team, like guys like Jimmy Bonneau and Grant McNeil and like, guys like that, like scary dudes, Bruce Watson, goons like that. But the love that I got from my teammates for, sticking my nose out there and, sometimes taking a beating, it made it sort of palatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm glad that I'm glad that I don't do that anymore. And I became a better hockey player my last 2 years of pro. So basically what happened was like I got my face crushed in by Bruce Watson in a fight, and it's on YouTube. And I shattered my orbital socket. I had to have facial surgery. I had to have reconstructive surgery in my eye socket. And after that, man, like I kind of dialed it back as far as fighting. And I was like, man, like I'm not a fighter. I'm a really good hockey player, and I should just focus more on like the skill part of my game and like, channel this this aggression that I have. And I need to keep myself, like I mentioned earlier in our podcast here, like staying healthy is really important. And me getting beat up by the goon was not what was best for my team. It was better for my team to have me out there and learning how to like play within the, the rules, I guess. And like, using my aggression on the ice to, get the space that I want and like set the tone, but maybe not dropping the glove. So like I stopped fighting, like, and after I stopped fighting at the pro level, I started getting called up to the American League more, and like opportunities started happening for me more, and my game improved. So I wish I had maybe discovered that before all those injuries happened, but I guess it all happens, and that's why we're here. So it's all good, you know.
Awesome. So that's it. That leads into another question I wanted to ask. The game now where the NHL has gone a far away from fighting, and you know, as much as it used to be, there was a lot more fighting, you know, back then. But a lot of guys got phased out, and you were just talking about that. And I just want to know, like, do you think you would have survived the phase? And I think you would have, because, like you said, you were focusing on your skills the last 2 years, and kind of like the guys that got left behind, basically, or the guys that were just out there enforcing, and now you have guys like, dude, who's the guy who plays on Washington? What's his name?
The big guy.
Oh, Tom Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson.
He's like today's enforcer, but he also puts up 60 points. You know.
There's no more. I don't think you're going to see too many more guys that are going to be able to come up and not produce and just be violent out there. But I think hockey's still a game of like intimidation, and there's definitely like, you know, some value to be had. Like I love playing with guys that were like I love being on the team with like a good player who was also tough. You just felt, you know what I mean? Like if a couple guys on your team were scrappy. Like I have a guy I can come to mind. I'd love to get him on this podcast too. Malcolm McMillan. He was a savage, man. He's from Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Oh yeah.
He was sick, man. He was so silky. He had the dirtiest dangles. He wore white skates, but he was so tough and he was so scary, and he used to just murder dudes. And like, I loved playing with guys like that. And I hated playing against guys like that. But I guess to answer your question, like for me, yeah, man, I would have been better off if I had never tried to be like a fighter, I guess. I think in hindsight, man, I was on a billboard in Reading, Pennsylvania when I was playing for the Royals, and it's me with my gloves off, like about to get into a fight. And I'm just like, man, like I'm not even a fighter. Like I don't even like fighting. I don't even want to be doing that. And here I am, like I'm on this billboard. I'm like, I got to figure this out. But my game was like,
is there any way I can find?
There's got to be a picture of it. It's like me
going on the Instagram.
It's me. It's there's three of us on the billboard. It's me, Zapala, my boy Joe Zapala, and I think John Snowden was on there too. And I'm on there, the only bonehead with his gloves off. And I'm like, like I'm a college hockey player. Like, you know, like I put up points. Like I had like 0.5 points per game. Like I could definitely like produce. And I think I would have even had more production if I had just dialed it back. Like I basically, like when I was a kid, I grew up with Brooks Orpik, and he was the guy I looked up to, and he used to just murder guys. And I was watching him, and like, you know, he's getting scholarships to Boston College, and he's a first-round draft pick. And I'm like, well, I could do that. Like I can murder guys. And so I started murdering guys. And like, then all of a sudden, like I started to get noticed, and I started to get, you know, opportunities to play at the higher level. And what's going on, man?
Oh, nothing. I'm just pulling up. Just had some cord issues.
A little technical difficulties?
Yeah, I have like 30,000 cords back here.
Yeah, man. Well, anyways, but
yeah, Brooks Orpik, and
I forgot what I was saying.
That's a great dude to grow up with, especially being like, you know,
dude, like his work ethic, bro. Like his work ethic is like I've never seen anything like it, and I was like, I was in awe of it, really. And you could see the reasons like a guy like Brooks Orpik was a first-round draft pick, and the reason I wasn't was like he was just he was 100% dedicated, and I had like a little bit of it took me a lot longer to get to that dedication level, which I'm there, but it took me longer to get to that level. He's one of those guys, and I still see it nowadays. Like some kids are just 100% from when the time they're like 10. And like I see it, and some kids aren't. Yeah. And he's one of those guys who was, man.
Oh, you know, and that's probably one of the most important things. Like you see those guys. What's the difference between the guys that are in the NHL and that aren't? Well, when they were 10 years old, they were just absolutely grinding.
Yeah, and he was definitely one of those players, and I looked up to him as like his game, and I try to emulate it a little bit. And I think like if I had just been, maybe had somebody who I looked up to closer to me who was more skilled and less of a physical presence, it might have had an impact on me, long term and as a player. Because like as I got older, like I said, I have a lot more offensive skills, I think, than the physical side of it. because what happened was I ended up getting hurt, and so my career ended because I got hurt because I was just playing, like kind of a psychopath, like running guys over, getting fights and stuff like that, and I ended up, getting hurt prematurely. So I don't know, man. Yeah, I would say, the answer question, I guess, was like, how would you adjust to today's game? And I think I would be better in today's game, personally, I think, than I was when I came up, when it was a little violent, a little bit more violent.
Yeah. Do you remember the Broad Street Bullies?
Yeah. But like, no, Broad Street Bullies were like, that was before my time.
Okay.
I mean, like, that's like, who is it? Like, who the Broad Street Bullies? Like, I mean, it's the Flyers, but like, Bobby Clark, like Bobby Clark and something like that. I know. Yeah. So like, that was before me. When I was a kid, it was the Legion of Doom, dude.
Oh yeah.
The Legion of Doom was really popular. Do you know who the Legion of Doom is?
No, I don't.
It's Eric Lindros, John LeClaire, and oh man, I'm blanking on the third dude, man. Who was it? Come on, man. Who was it?
About to Google it right now.
Wait, I'm gonna try to get it before you can Google it. It's John LeClaire, Eric Lindros, and dude, I'm blanking. Who is it? Tell me.
Let's see.
Just type in Legion of Doom Flyers.
From 95 to 97 was...
I'm just going to kill me when you tell me the name.
I don't know. Won't give me a straight...
They were like all like 6'3", like 230, these dudes. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I know Lindros is huge. Lindros, LeClaire, and Michael Renberg.
Michael Renberg. I wasn't going to get there. I should have had it, though. I remember... I remember the Legion of Doom was really popular when I think I was in like high school. Those guys were tearing up the league for a few years.
Yeah.
But why did you ask about the Broad Street Bullies?
Dude, I was listening. I heard something cool the other day. Like I was listening to Rogan and he had Rob Zombie on, and Rob Zombie said he was looking into making a Broad Street Bullies movie. And I just thought, and you talking about fighting and stuff made me think of that. I'm like, how cool would that have been, a Broad Street Bullies movie?
Yeah, well, I didn't. I'd be honest with you. I didn't really follow the Flyers, and I was aware of the Broad Street Bullies, but not really. I think they're a little older. It was just Rob Zombie's older. He's like,
yeah. But that's just a crazy story. Like they won the Stanley Cup because they would just beat people up.
I mean, that's the game, though. Like we talked about earlier, man, hockey's a game of intimidation. I mean, sometimes the most skilled team can win, and sometimes, it's the tougher teams that can outlast and impose their will, if you will, on exactly. Smaller, faster players. And it's kind of a mix, like you got to find that nice mix there. And some teams have a good mix of skill and grit. And, some teams, you see them, they're just all skill and they lack toughness and like comes down to hurt them. And some teams are, all grit and they have no skill and they can't score.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. It's all about having the best combination, of all those guys. I mean, like I said, the Broad Street Bullies, they beat people up and won a Stanley Cup on it, but I don't think that would go today. I don't think that could ever survive. Like a team like that could never win a cup like that. You'd have to have.
Yeah. Nowadays, man, it's so skilled and so fast. Like, you can just skate around guys, and the rules are there too. Where in the old days you could grab and hold on to guys, and now you can't do that. So it's kind of going away. And I think honestly, man, it's everybody. I hear a lot of people chirping that they don't like that hockey's getting softer, and I don't really think it's getting softer. I mean, it's you're still seeing collisions. You're still seeing guys scrapping it up out there, and tough guys definitely still have a huge place in hockey. And sure. But I think it's good for the long-term survival of the sport. And honestly, man, I think the sport is growing more than ever. It seems like it's more popular than ever.
Oh yeah.
And you see other sports like football, and all everybody talks about is like everybody's getting hurt. Everybody's the sport might not last because it's too many injuries. Yeah. And I think if hockey can get away from that and just it's a beautiful game, and there's a lot more to offer than just the physicality. But I think there's always going to be that there, man. When you have grown men competing, running into each other, trying to put a puck in the net, and get to that net, there's always going to be violence associated with it. So there's always going to be that level of animosity in hockey. So I don't know. I think I'm cool with it.
I mean, pretty much. I mean, you can look at pretty much any team sport and find that level of aggression and kind of physicalness. But I think that that what makes hockey so special is that it's a skill game too. It's a lot about skill, and you're not going to take a run at a guy who you think can go around you. But if he opens up for that opportunity, you're going to take that opportunity, and that you can't find that in a lot of other games where it's the physicality is not guaranteed, but it almost is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can have some games that like, there's not much physical play, and then you can have some games that could just get out of hand and like one guy does one thing and there's like, you never know what you're gonna get. Well, that's kind of the cool thing about it, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I love the skill. I mean, the gracefulness of it, like the ballet,
Yeah, and there's so many ways like a hockey game can be interesting. It can be a scoring battle, it can be a goalie battle, it can be a physical battle, it could be an overtime crunch. Like there's so many ways that it can become an interesting game.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So we're on the same page. Hockey's awesome. We're on the same page.
Awesome. Yeah.
All right, cool, man.
Nice, dude. I ran through all the questions, and I had some extra ones too that I didn't even write down. That I just
all right, cool. Yeah, I think that was good, man. Let's cut it, and then we'll be back. So we're gonna drop episodes Tuesdays and Thursdays. And stay consistent with you guys. And if there's people actually tuning in, we'll keep dropping them.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, do you have an outro you want to do?
No, man, I don't think so. I think we should just say thanks for tuning in, Making Playz podcast, and we'll see you next time.
All right, see you guys.